Put your locations in the comments as y'all are coming in. Hope everybody's having a great start to your Thursday. Make sure we are active everywhere we need to be active. We are good over here. Good over here. Good there. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out in the comment section. What we're going to talk about here today, we're going to talk about business, careers, job prospects for the job market, and why this matters for everybody, even if you run your own business, as I do. Even if you have a career that you are secure in and you don't think you're going anywhere, even if the current economic situation you feel does not directly affect you, even if you are retired and you're not even going to be working anymore, this still matters. This affects everybody. And I'm going to explain again why this affects everybody, because Apple's doing some hiring. Starbucks, for example, is doing some firing. We're going to talk about what all this means, why it matters, how it affects everybody. So let me make sure we are live everywhere. We're live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. Live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Let me check and see if we are active on X. It says yes. And yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. We are live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. My name on LinkedIn and on Rumble and on YouTube and on X is at Dre All Day. We are live on Facebook.com/Work On Your Game University. Facebook.com/Work On Your Game University. If you're a Facebook user, we're live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin, live on TikTok at Work On Your Game. So the topic here today, as I told you, is we're going to talk about the economy and what the things that we're seeing happening, what these mean, and how these forebode for everybody moving forward. Even if you think it doesn't directly affect you, it does directly affect everybody here. And let me get back over here. Okay. Give me your locations in the comments, folks, and I will shout a few folks out. Let me get my timer on here, because we do need to start on time. And we didn't start on time. We started a little bit late here today, but how much time we got? All right. Let's see. Nope. That. Wrong time. We do need to make sure we stick to time properly here today, because I have other appointments. So we got. All right, there we go. Give me locations in the comments. Let me shout a few people out over here on TikTok. 140.6 Walnut Creek, California. Good morning. A&E AFF. Good morning. Kentucky. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit is in the house. Carol Ann Collins, Newburgh, New York. Cure fans. SC. Hello from Connecticut. KB checking in from Boca Raton. Ronaldo from Chicago. Federal Court. Now answered that one. Ethan Colella, thanks for the follow. Nana Cat, yes. Tia, good morning. Checking in from North Carolina. Happiness now from ATL. Ron Johnson, Lima, Ohio. L. Johnson, good morning from Union, New Jersey. Jay Rocker checking in from Delaware. Good morning. Mr. Lewinsky, thanks for the follow. JYM from Florida. Bryn Dizzle from Tucson. Be Better from Chicago. The 23rd Storm put 3 sevens. I don't know what that is. Where is that? Ashley checking in from Altoona. Shout out to Altoona, PA. It's cold in Altoona, but I like Altoona. Avery, good morning from Texas. Gary Gray, good morning from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Shout out to Cape Cod. Quail Ridge, Lincoln, California. Abby, good morning from Ohio. Nana Cat from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Kuyabenya shout out, Manson, North Carolina. Your kid's stepdaddy. Good morning from the ATL. Shout out to Atlanta. Echoes, good morning from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a big place. Where in Pennsylvania you at? Patty Ingram from Mississippi. Same question to you. Laura Iggy Lover, good morning from Oklahoma. Okay, so all you giving me states. Bourbon checking in from Louisiana, 4 in a row. Peters, PLPJ, good morning. The Woman in Her Curves checking in from Miami. Shout out to Miami. That's where I'm at. Shout out to Miami. Shout out to the peacocks and the roosters and the lizards in South Florida. Those 3 things you don't see too much of up in Philadelphia, where I'm from. Jen from South Carolina. Nathan Don, Sanford Ford, living large and loving Dre all day. Oh, I appreciate it. Sanford Ford. And let me fire up the soundboard. The fact that you said that we could fire up the soundboard, turn it on early. Mr. Lewinsky checking in from South Jersey. Shout out to South Jersey, close enough to Philadelphia. And Kingsley Jones, I don't know what you said there, but okay. Patty Ingram from Central Brandon, Mississippi. Jen, thank you for the follow. Boss Mom checking in from Columbus, Ohio. Echoes 9711. Originally from Altoona, but don't live there now. All right, shout out to people from Altoona. Murphy the Mutt from Bristol, Tennessee. User 268 from Limerick, PA. I do know about Limerick, PA. What is it? And it was something I knew about Limerick, PA. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think Limerick used to be a big steel town in Pennsylvania. User 26. Let me know if that's right. Jolly Red Silver checking in from Houston. Chris Dan checking in from Delaware. Shout out to Delaware, close enough to Philadelphia. I'm based in South Florida. For those who don't, power plant, there's a big power plant in Limerick. Maybe that's what it was. All right, so let's get into what we're talking about here today. Topic is Apple is hiring and Starbucks is firing. And again, I want y'all to understand why this matters, even if you're not trying to work at Apple, even if you're not trying to work at Starbucks. I'm not. What happened is Apple made an announcement. Tina757VA, good morning. Apple made an announcement that they're going to invest $500 billion with a B, $500 billion. In other words, they're going to take Elon Musk's entire bank account. That's a joke. They're going to take Elon Musk's entire bank account and they're going to invest it from 2025, that's now, until 2029. So for the next 4 years, Apple is going to invest the largest domestic commitment in company history. This announcement is dropped at the exact same time that Starbucks announced that they're laying off thousands of employees at the corporate level, not just the baristas, but at the corporate level. Starbucks is about to fire a bunch of people. And they're going to close a bunch of underperforming stores. And you don't even see Starbucks close that often. The same way you don't see Apple stores close. You don't see McDonald's close, but Starbucks is closing some stores. Now, Apple is touting that this $500 billion investment is going to be for hiring. Pay attention here. 20,000 highly skilled positions. 20,000 highly skilled jobs is what Apple is claiming that they're going to fill. They're going to build a new AI server factory. Anybody want to guess where this new AI server factory is? It's in a city in America. Anybody want to guess the city? So the question is, Apple is building a new AI server factory. What city are they building the factory in? Don't cheat and go look it up. No, where is this factory going to be? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? So Manny said somewhere in Texas. Mr. Lewinsky said Memphis, not Memphis. Be Better said San Fran. No. Not San Fran. Bravo said Austin. No, not San Francisco. XDR said Northern CA Houston. What does that mean? GDville said Phoenix, not Phoenix. Darren said New York, not New York. Bruce said Austin. I got New York. Karina said Houston. I see Dallas, New York. So many of you are guessing in Texas. It is in Texas. It's actually in Houston, Texas. Houston is where they're building it. Apple's building a new 20. They're not the 20. That's not all 20,000 people won't be in Houston. They're going to build a new AI server factory in Houston, which is going to need workers. But a lot of companies are expanding to Texas. So if you hear a company is expanding their operations, especially a well-known company, or they're moving, a good guess would be to guess that they're moving to Texas. Why? Because Texas has no state income tax. So if they hire highly skilled workers, then those workers can keep more of their money. Texas has a lot of land and a lot of space. And Texas has positioned themselves as being very business and, corporate and big money friendly. Texas has established itself as that. California, New York are traditional places for that. And Florida tried to do it. Florida didn't quite pull it off. Florida's still good with the no state income tax and generally becoming a red state over the last 15 to 20 years, several election cycles. But as far as making it this place that you go for a business, Florida hasn't quite pulled that off yet. They tried to do it. Miami tried to make themselves a tech center. They didn't do it too well. Doesn't mean people can't have a tech job working down here, but that's not really what it is. A lot of remote workers down here. But Texas, you can take your career over to Texas. So Houston is where Apple's going to build a new server factory. And they're going to double up their manufacturing fund. In other words, they're going to spend more money on manufacturing, which is good. That means Apple's going to build more stuff to sell to you. And they're going to expand their data centers across multiple states. So all the data centers Apple already has, they're going to make them bigger and they're going to hire more people. Now, analysts note most of this spending is money that Apple was already going to spend anyway. Buying from suppliers, research and development budgets, normal U.S. operations. And they say that they're dressing this up as a patriotic investment after Tim Cook met with Donald Trump, we know him, amid tariff threats. So Tim Cook, for those of you who don't know who he is, he's the guy running Apple. He took over after Steve Jobs passed away. Those of you who have not read the book titled Steve Jobs, written by Walter Isaacson, I suggest you read it, especially if you own an iPhone. You're using Apple products. You might want to learn about the person who created the product and why it is what it is. For example, I told you all a few things about this, but when you buy an Apple product, like whether it's a computer, iPad, a watch, or a phone, you know how you open the box and the box opens really slowly? When you open the Apple box for the product and it opens real slow like that, that was actually designed. That's not by mistake. That it opens slowly by design because Steve Jobs mandated that the box opens slowly like that because he wants it to look like a curtain raising up, like a reveal of a product. He doesn't want to feel like you're just opening any random product, like some box that you got from Amazon. He wanted it to be a reveal. So every little detail of how Apple products are, how they work, how they're sold to you, the stores, all of that was the vision of this guy, Steve Jobs, who was a hell of a visionary. And if you haven't read the book, you should read the book because, again, you're buying the products. You should know where it came from and why it is what it is. And I told you all this a few weeks ago. The reason the company is called Apple, because there was a time when Steve Jobs was a fruitarian. Didn't even know that was a thing, a fruitarian. So, vegetarian, pescatarian, he was a fruitarian. All he did was eat fruit. And this is a real story. And there was a time period during which all Steve Jobs ate was apples. That's the reason why the company's called Apple. Again, not a joke. And there are different breeds of apple. So if you go to not Apple, the company, but Apple, the apples that you eat, they're different breeds. So if you go to the grocery store nowadays, at least down here in the southeastern part of the country, but I think everywhere, is somewhere like Whole Foods or Fresh Market, you'll notice that there's a lot of different apples you can buy, like 14 different brands of apple. Well, one apple that used to be very popular was called the Macintosh apple. And Steve Jobs used to like eating the Macintosh apple. That's the reason why the computer is called the Mac. And again, these are all true stories. And if you read the damn book, you would know about these things because this is all written in the book. And again, Walter Isaacson, very good biographer. But I digress. Now, Starbucks, on the other hand, actually, let me go back. Tim Cook. I brought up Steve Jobs. I was talking about Tim Cook. He's the guy running Apple. He just had a meeting with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is, of course, threatening and actually following through on his threat with tariffs. Those who don't understand, the tariffs is basically telling American-based companies that if you import your goods from another country, we're going to make you pay a tax for everything you import, as opposed to if you build your goods here in America, you don't have to pay a tax because you built them here in America. So Donald Trump is trying to follow through his America First mandate and get companies to do more business in the United States, because they do more business of their business in the United States, more of their operations here. That means they have to hire more Americans have jobs, more Americans having jobs means more tax dollars that the government can take from those people with jobs. And it helps the country overall. And since more people have jobs, makes everybody feel better economically. And that helps the economy. It also helps the presidency, helps the administration. There's a better chance the current administration stays in power if everybody feels like they're making money. And the way people need to make money is usually got to have a job. So Donald Trump uses tariffs. Yes, it hurts companies that import, but it helps companies that don't import, or companies that do their operations in the United States. And it's actually not about helping the company. It's about helping the everyday person who has a job at the company. So when y'all hear Donald Trump talking about tariffs, and many of you have demonized the tariffs like it's a bad thing, it makes costs go up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the trade-off of those costs going up in a positive way is that more people are employed. And when more people are employed, there's more money moving through the economy. And as I've already explained to you all, when more money moves to the economy, that's good for everybody, because when money's moving, it eventually finds its way to the people who are selling, the salespeople, the entrepreneurs, the people who go out there and make things happen. So if you're one of those people, you should be happy that money is moving, and money usually moves when people have it. People don't have money, money doesn't move. People don't have a job, they're not going to move money. So the question really when it comes to tariffs is not if the tariffs cause prices to go up. The question is the offset of the prices going up and things costing more because of the tariffs, is it worth the trade-off of more people having jobs in the United States of America? And if I'm a politician, I'd rather, well, you got to weigh it, because if costs are high, then people are complaining about the cost. But if people don't have jobs, they complain about not having jobs. So either way, somebody's going to be pissed off. This is the reason why when you get into politics, you got to understand the trade-offs, is that there's no perfect answers. But that's not the topic here today. Tim Cook just had a meeting with Donald Trump about these tariff threats, because Donald Trump has looked at Apple and said, we're going to start putting tariffs on you mofos, because y'all are importing a lot of your pieces, your materials for building these phones and these computers. You're importing your pieces from outside the country. We're going to start tariffing you on that. And Apple does a lot of importing because they sell a lot of products. So Tim Cook went and met with Donald Trump because he's trying to save Apple some money. We don't want those tariffs. We being Apple. We don't want those tariffs. So Tim Cook comes out with this announcement that some are saying that they were going to do this anyway, but he's dressing it up to make it seem like this is some new initiative by Apple, that they're going to invest all this money into America. So it looks like Apple is focusing on the United States so that maybe they can get Donald Trump off of their backs. That's what this is. This is all part of the political game. And when you run a really big company that makes a lot of money like Apple, you are part of the political game, whether you want to be in it or not. You're either going to get run over by it or you're going to ride with it. Now, that's what's happening with Apple. On the other hand, Starbucks. Y'all know about these folks. I do have the Apple phone. I do not drink coffee. The Starbucks, I know about them. They are cutting 2,000 corporate roles this year. Corporate roles. I'm not talking about the baristas making coffee. The people working in the offices, they're about to fire 2,000 people. It was not really that many given the size of Starbucks, but each one of those 2,000 people now doesn't have a job. So it's a lot to them. And they're slashing layers of management. In other words, they're making their bureaucracy less bureaucratic. At least they claim they're going to. And they're going to shut down stores as consumers are trading down. So it looks like, according to what market analysts are saying, is that people who used to drink Starbucks have now traded their Starbucks for, I don't know, Dunkin' Donuts, some local coffee shop. What coffee is cheaper than Starbucks? Y'all tell me, those of you who are coffee drinkers, what kind of coffee is cheaper than Starbucks? I don't know. I know nothing about the coffee world. So these people are cutting down on Starbucks and they're maybe going to a different type of coffee. They said all coffee, everybody. All right. So people are trading down from drinking Starbucks, which I guess is the premium coffee. Where I know if I'm asked to go get a Starbucks for somebody, it's just like $6 to $8 for a coffee. I don't know the going rate for coffee, but anyway, people are trading down from Starbucks, and I guess it costs too much money, so they're shutting down stores that ain't making them enough money. And inflation is eating into discretionary spending. I've already explained this concept to you all before. Discretionary money is just money people have left over after food, clothing, shelter, bills. So after you pay all the stuff you have to pay for, whatever money you have left is your discretionary money or discretionary income. And people are being a little bit smarter with their discretionary money because costs are going up. So after they pay food, clothing, shelter, bills, there is less discretionary money. So when they're saying I want some coffee, instead of $8, I'm gonna go get it at the place where it costs $4, and therefore they're not spending money at Starbucks. So this is what's happening. Starbucks is noticing this, and they're taking some action to try to catch up to this. Now, together, this shows a split economy. Now, this is what I want y'all to understand. The tech and AI industries, they are pushing big investment headlines, meaning we're putting more money into this stuff, which they are, whether you think what Tim Cook is doing is just dressing up something they were already doing. They're still doing it. Whether they were already doing it or it's a new initiative, they're still doing it. Is they're putting more money into stuff, the tech industry, whereas consumer-facing companies like Starbucks, they are quietly contracting, restructuring, and pulling back. Now, I'm going to help you all understand in context why this matters and why it matters to everyone. Just keep that juxtaposition between these two things in your head. One is that the big tech companies are doing bigger and doing more, and the small consumer-facing companies are doing less. Why is this, and what does it mean? Let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete. I'm author of a few books, done a few TED Talks, run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our biggest focus right now is on the power of presence. Those of you on TikTok, my head is blocking the manuals right there. If you're watching on Instagram, you can see it perfectly. You're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Rumble, you can see it perfectly right there. Power of presence is all about understanding that 85% of communication is nonverbal and making sure that you master that 85%, because every other communication you do, the other 15% is simply a multiplier of whatever people picked up on that 85%. So when you hear the saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. The first impression is the 85% that people pick up on about you before you speak. The 15% is what you actually say. And most people focus on what they actually say, the 15%, when the real communication is the 85%, the stuff that you didn't say. You need to master the stuff that you didn't say so that the stuff that you do say makes maximum impact. Most people have no idea how to do that or even that it exists. This is the reason why most people fumble in their communication, even though they think they're saying all the right things. So people go out memorizing scripts and memorizing what they're going to say and trying to give the perfect speech and have the perfect words. None of that shit matters if your 85% is off. The power of presence is about mastering that 85% so that you do it the right way. We have a whole program teaching this. I study this stuff not only as a professional, but just I'm interested in it, which is why when you combine that with my professional practice of it, that's what makes it amazing. I say that humbly, but also confidently. You want to get into the Power of Presence Mastermind, you can work with me directly. Go to the link in my profile and When you're in the mastermind, we'll send you that book in the mail. You cannot buy that book, but you can get it in the mail directly from me when you're a member of the mastermind. Now, let's get into these points, then we get into the conversation. So Apple's $500 billion pledge. Also, you can text me the word power to the number 305-384-6894, or you just text any word to that number. You'll be in my text community. I send out a daily motivation text every morning, a Monday motivation text and for some reason, actually, let me check right now, because for some reason, the message that was supposed to come out today didn't come out. So let me make sure that message was today is the 20th. Let's see. I'm doing this in real time right now because this message that was supposed to come out today didn't come out. Let me see if I'm missing something. And I think we just need to get things scheduled. So, daily motivation. So if you're on my daily motivation text message list, you should be getting that text, and make sure that it goes out. I think it didn't get scheduled for this morning. There we go. There it is. All right. So anyway, getting into this topic here today, Apple's $500 billion pledge. It is a signal, as I just explained to you, again, whether you think they're dressing it up or not, that there's confidence in the tech infrastructure and AI growth in America. I think all of us can understand that, even if we don't consciously think about it. These investments lean heavily into AI servers, which are basically big computers and all the hardware that allows AI to be what it is, to be able to answer questions so quickly and to basically pull any information from the ether of the internet within a couple of seconds or a matter of minutes. Everybody knows about this. Research and development, well, we know about it, meaning that we use it. Research and development, silicon engineering, and data centers. And these data centers are huge warehouses that basically have computers running, not basically, but literally running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And these computers have to keep running because these are the computers that are able to send the answer to whatever question you put into an AI chat. Within 20 seconds, that gives you an answer, a complete answer in more context than you even asked for. And then ask you, I'll give you even more information if you want it. Just say the word, I'll give you more information. How do you think they're able to do that quickly? Because they have computers that are running literally all damn day to be able to answer these questions. Imagine you asking the questions that you're asking, then multiply that by 10 million other people doing the exact same thing. These data centers, Apple is investing heavily into these things, and Apple is but one company doing this. I don't even think we look at Apple as the leader in AI. You look at companies like Perplexity, you look at companies like Google, maybe even Amazon or OpenAI. These are the companies that are probably the leaders in AI, and Apple is getting involved. Apple has a ton of money. They got a ton of customers. They got a ton of data about their customers. Apple is going to get into this AI game heavy because they want to and because they can. And you think about all their competitors, that's what's happening right now. There's a ton of money going into this space. So what I want y'all to understand in context, and I'll come back around to this point probably today, is that if you are a highly skilled person in the tech sector, there's a ton of business opportunity for you right now if you can leverage and sell your skills. If you understand anything about the research and development, you understand AI, you know you have some knowledge work that you can lend, you can do anything involving manufacturing, anything on the AI cutting edge. There is a ton of money for you. There's a ton of jobs for you. Has any of you even looked at the type of jobs and job offers being given to people to pivot in the AI tech space? Have any of you seen this? Give me a yes or no in the comments if y'all seen it. Because I'm going to give y'all some examples. Let me pull it up on Grok, see if I can find it. Give me some examples of people who work in the AI and tech space who have been poached from one company to another, and then tell me the type of salaries they were making, the type of salaries that they were offered, and the type of signing bonuses they were given to switch from one company to another, so I can explain this to my live stream audience. Has any of you seen these? I read these articles about companies poaching each other. Y'all don't know what poaching is. It basically means stealing an employee from one company to come work for your company, which is completely legal to do. I mean, as long as it's been, there's no paperwork against it. But there's an arms race between these people in doing this stuff. Have any of you looked at these things? Someone said, how do you become an AI expert? Well, first thing is to be interested in it. Second thing is start reading on it. Third is start using it. Those are the first 3 steps I would give you. So these companies, there's a full-blown war. I'm paraphrasing here off Grok right now. Companies like Meta, Microsoft, Meta's another one who's going to get heavily involved. They have a ton of data. All of us have been giving them our data for 20 years. Apple, Facebook/Meta, Google, they all got Amazon, they all have a ton of information about us because we've been giving it away to them for free for the last, again, 20 years. So they're all going to get into this AI game heavy. Microsoft, another one. Google, OpenAI. OpenAI is a company that makes ChatGPT, by the way, and Anthropic. They're throwing insane, this is Grok's words, insane money at top researchers and engineers. These are the people making a ton of money. So any of you have kids and your kids are trying to decide what they want to do with their lives, I know a bunch of you have kids who want to be fucking YouTubers and TikTok streamers. Tell them don't do that. Go get your engineering degree because that's where the money's at. Okay. You might make it big as a TikToker or a YouTube streamer. And by the way, I am not a TikToker or a YouTube streamer. I do streaming, but I am not a streamer. They're two different things, just to be clear. Tell your kids to get their engineering degrees because that's where the money's at. All right. The money is not in fucking YouTubing. Now, actually, there is money in YouTubing. That's a lie. There's money in YouTubing, but not everybody who tries is going to make it. You get an engineering degree, you're guaranteed to make money because there's always going to be a job for engineers. There will not always be a job for a YouTuber. And not every YouTuber who tries is going to make money. Different conversation for a different day. But there's a tiny pool of people who can push these frontier models forward, and that's why there's a ton of money for them. Now, exact compensation is never inexact. It's never told. It's never told exactly how much money it is, but the numbers get thrown around. So there's a guy named Mustafa Suleyman, and most of Inflection's AI team, they went to Microsoft. Now, they co-founded this company called DeepMind, and I'm just trying to help y'all understand what happened here. So Microsoft basically acquired/hired. They call it acqui-hired. That's what they call it, acqui-hired. So half acquired and then hired. So this guy founded this company called DeepMind. He had 100 people on his staff. And Microsoft gave them $650 million to move their business or basically get acquired by Microsoft. $650 million is 100 people on the team. Y'all want to do the math on how much money that is? $650 million with 100 people. All right, that's what they did. This is one of the biggest executive poaches. And again, they didn't say the exact amount, the $650 million deal they announced. Now, there was a bunch of people who worked at OpenAI. That's a company that created and gave us ChatGPT. A bunch of researchers who worked at OpenAI, they moved to Meta. So Facebook basically stole a bunch of OpenAI employees from them to come work at Facebook, and how they did this with money. Now, again, Mark Zuckerberg got personally involved in this. He took about 10 to 20 top OpenAI researchers and brought them to the Facebook Superintelligence Lab. That's what they call it, the Superintelligence Lab. Sam Altman got mad at this. Sam Altman, by the way, those who know, y'all know who Sam Altman is? Sam Altman is the brains behind OpenAI. He's the guy who gave you ChatGPT. This guy, Sam Altman. He was pissed off about this. Of course he's pissed off. He just lost 20 of his top employees because Facebook stole them from him. And he gave them $100 million signing bonuses and even higher annual pay. Higher paid than what they were already getting. $100 million. Some packages reportedly total over $300 million over 4 years. So these guys are getting NBA contracts. That's what they're doing with these engineers. So if your kids, any of you got kids, or any of you as a college kid thinking about, you want to put yourself in a good space in the next 10 to 20 to 30 years, don't try to play in the NBA because only one of a million of you is going to make it. But you become an engineer and you can push these AI models forward. You can get the same kind of money that an NFL player gets, actually more of it. And your money's probably more guaranteed and you won't get injured. So you got a whole lot of good things going for you. 300 million over 4 years. Now, by the way, that's not all cash. That's mostly equity in the company. Same way that Elon Musk $1 trillion is not $1 trillion in cash. Now let's look at another one. Google DeepMind. They went to Microsoft. I already told you about that one. Now there's a company called Roaming Pang. I've never heard of these people. This is an Apple AI Foundations model lead. I've never heard of this company at all, but that's even better. I never even heard of them. They were working for Apple's AI foundation models, basically helping Apple build up their AI. They got stolen by Meta. So Meta's out there just hiring everybody. And this person, Roaming Pang is a person. Oh, I thought it was a company. All right, so see, this shows you how much I know. Roaming Pang, who worked at Apple, he got $200 million to go to Meta/Facebook. $200 million to go from Apple to Facebook. And that's because this guy's clearly a really smart guy who got his engineering degree. He probably wasn't partying on Friday nights in college. I'm just saying. And I was, but he wasn't. Now, multiple researchers from OpenAI, I just told you about this. They got poached over to Meta. I just told you, and they got the names of these people. And many of these folks got, and here's some cash. I want to talk about cash. $50 to $100 million in cash just to make the switch. That's not count. That's not the job. That's not the salary. $50 to $100 million just to come over there. Mark Zuckerberg's throwing money out crazy. So y'all want to get some money. Again, you need to call up Mark Zuckerberg. He's throwing money around right now. If you're an engineer who knows your shit, 50 to 100 million just to come over there. Now, Aaron said there are a couple of thousand of these jobs is not a market at all. Well, a couple of thousand of the highest end jobs, but for lower end jobs, let's say you don't need $50 million. Let's say you're just trying to make 800,000. There's a lot of jobs out there. I think it's more than 1,000. So reverse flow. So there's talent from OpenAI / DeepMind going over to Anthropic. That's another AI company. This is a safety-focused company. They've been quietly winning engineers 8 to 11 times more likely to leave OpenAI or DeepMind for Anthropic than the other way. So they're winning on culture and mission more than pure money. So not everybody's going for money. So some people are selling themselves to the highest bidder. I ain't mad at you if you do. But some people are going to places for the culture and the mission. And also because once you get this big with this much money and this much attention, people start going at you. So you see how CEOs sometimes start getting trashed. Sam Altman's been getting trashed a lot over the last year or two. So a lot of companies are leaving him right now. So let's look at the typical compensation because I'm giving you the high end stuff. I'm telling you the LeBron Jameses and the Michael Jordans. But let's talk about the role players, quote unquote. If you're a senior researcher or principal engineer, you can get a base salary of $300,000 to $800,000 a year with an annual bonus of 20 to 100% of your salary. So let's say if your base salary is $300,000, your annual bonus could be between $60,000 and $300,000. You get equity, annual refresh of $1 to $10 million. That's equity in the company. And you can get a signing bonus of $10 to $50 million. So your total compensation your first year might be $2 million to $20 million bucks. Over 4 years, $50 to $100 million. But your base salary is $300,000. How many of you would be happy with that? Now, if you're a rock star researcher, then you're starting at $500K up to $1 million in base salary, and your overall compensation can be $200 to $300 million. That's where there's a few. That's a few and far between. If you're executive, similar numbers. Oops, I lost my spot. Your executive, similar numbers, and they don't even put a number on here just because they say massive. The number is, instead of a percentage, it just says massive. That's how much money you can get. So the signing bonus is the big weapon, according to Grok. Meta has been accused of dropping $100 million, and they call these exploding offers. So y'all remember Inspector Gadget, where he would read a message and it would say, this message will self-destruct. So according to what Grok is saying here, is that Meta has been offering people $100 million exploding offers. In other words, they'll call you at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they'll say, here's the offer that we're making to you. And we'll offer you a $100 million signing bonus, but this offer expires at 12 o'clock today. So it's 9 o'clock. You got to take the offer by 12 o'clock or we're pulling the offer off the table. What would you do? Mark Zuckerberg calls you and says, we'll offer you $100 million to leave your current job and come work for us. I'll give you $100 million on the spot for doing it, but you got 3 hours to decide. What would you do? All right, that's what they tell you. And this is what they're saying. Mark Zuckerberg's offering these. This is an arms race that they're having in this space. Now, most of this money, again, is equity. So it's not like you get $100 million in cash, but it's a good amount of cash. You'll be able to pay for Starbucks. You won't have a problem buying Starbucks if you take one of these offers. Okay, even though it's equity. Now, at the same time, these are all in roles. Let me give you the flip side of this, because I don't want y'all to think that they're just handing out money and then you just lay on the beach sipping mimosas. So you have to actually work. Now, when you take these jobs, they are known as all in. What is an all in job? How many hours y'all think you're expected to work if you take one of these jobs? Give me a number. Give me a number, folks. Aaron said, how many positions? They're not telling me how many positions, but I'll ask. How many positions are there out there with these kind of offers? And then if there are offers on a lower level, how many positions are there out there for this if someone was just looking at this as a general job market? All right, I'll find out the answer to that. But first of all, I want to know, how many hours do you think you're expected to work? Let's say per week, folks, per week. Per week. How many hours do you need to work to get this kind of money? So Stephen Albert got it pretty much right. He said 80 to 100. Yeah, you're probably working 80 to 100 hour weeks. That's what it says here. This is all in. 80 to 100 hours a week. So you break that down. If it's 7 days in a week, and if you work 10 hours a day, that's 70 hours. All right, that's a baseline. Right? You're a baseline person if you're working 10 hours a day. So if you want to get up to 100, that's 30 extra hours, about 7 days. What is that? About another 4 hours a day? Yeah, so you're working 14-hour days. Basically, you wake up, go to work, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, go to sleep. Now, you want to make $10 million a year? In this industry, that's what you got to do. And if you still want to sign up, now make sure I'm telling y'all the whole story. That's what it is. Now, Meta has been criticized internally. Some are saying 24/7, pretty much. Teresa said at least 40. Teresa, are you joking? 40 hours a week can get you fired. 40 hours a week, they're not even talking to you. You got to work 40 hours a week twice in the same week. All right, that's 80 hours. 80 hours a week for this type of money. Meta has been criticized internally for saying you're expected to give your whole self to our culture. This is not new, by the way. Amazon had this exact culture when they were in their come up. They still have this culture. Doesn't get as much attention now, but they still have this culture right now. And they had a lot of this back in the day. Jeff Bezos was famous for saying, I'm paraphrasing, that if you're the type of person who wants to be at your kid's soccer game at 6 o'clock on every Tuesday and Thursday, this is not the place for you to work. And he was talking about the executive brain. He's talking about the C-suite, not the people packaging up orders in the factory. You want to be a leader at Amazon, do not think you're going to be at your kid's soccer game every Tuesday and Thursday. It's not happening. You'll be at work. If you want to work here, that's what it is. Now, if you want to be at the soccer game, you want work-life balance, okay, don't work here. All right, we don't do work-life balance. We do work balance. So any of you looking to get to this kind of bag, as they say, of money for your job, for your career, this is what you got to do. This is work balance. Ain't no work-life balance. You can have kids, but they won't have you. You have kids, they don't have you. And you need to let your spouse know. You need to let your friends know. If you got any friends, you ain't got no friends. Your friends are people you work with. All right, that's the way it is if you want to get into this space. Now, let's see. No company is offering these 40-hour weeks. 40-hour weeks in this industry is like you don't even exist. You're like the maintenance man. You're like the guy who cleans the toilets. You're working 40 hours a week. You don't even exist in this space. Just so all of you understand. The 40-hour week that many of you grew up with or are used to, or you think that's what it is. No. 40 hours is like what you put in by Wednesday. And you're working 7 days a week, by the way. 40 hours a week is by Wednesday. Just so get everybody on the right page. So this talent war is basically like sports free agency on steroids. Because there's a ton of money here. There's a ton of upside. And you're not working with a fixed entity being your physical body. LeBron James has a fixed entity. There's only so much his physical body can do, but for so long. He's an exception. In this space, we're working with AI, which is how fixed is AI? AI is super massive and expansive. So who knows where this is going? So the question was asked, how many of these jobs are actually available? Let's throw a dose of reality on top of this so all of you understand what kind of space you're trying to get into. Because if we talk about professional athletes, NBA is like 500 people. Okay, playing the NBA. You expand it to overseas, you got about 2,000 jobs total. NFL, you multiply that by about 4. So about 2,000 guys in the NFL, and let's just say 2,000. 2,000 is NBA, NFL. Now, these people that we're talking about here with this compensation, let's find out. How many of these positions exist globally? Right now, it's about 500 actively recruited roles at any given time, but the total people qualified for them is about 1,500 people. This is about 500 jobs, about 1,500 qualified. That's why I say this is a pretty good space to be in, because it's a 1 out of 3 chance that you'll get one of these jobs. If you're trying to make it to the NBA, it's a 1 out of a million chance you'll get it, no matter how good you are, because everybody can't get in. This space is 1,500 people who are even good enough, and there's only 500 jobs, roughly. This is all, again, rough estimates. Now, Frontier Labs, a Frontier Lab, these are like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, Meta AI, xAI, that's Elon Musk, Microsoft AI, plus a few others like Mistral, Cohere, Inflection. I never even heard of these people. I'm not a tech geek, but I know a little bit. They each have about 200 to 1,000 technical staff working directly on next-gen models. So this is looking like about 5,000 to 8,000 people total if you're working in a Frontier Lab, whatever that means. So of those, only the top 10 to 20% command insane packages. The insane packages of the $5 million, $10 million, those are insane. Everybody else, they get the basic package. You know what the basic package is? The basic package in this space is $1 to $5 million a year. That's your salary. $1 to $5 million a year. That's the basic package. Okay, if you're one of those 8,000 people. Now, these roles are almost never publicly posted. It's another thing y'all should understand about the job market, or those of you who are older, tell your kids this. These jobs are not publicly posted. You're not going on careerbuilder.com and applying for these jobs. You're not going on LinkedIn and browsing. These are not LinkedIn posted jobs. Companies poach quietly. In other words, you make your name known by doing high quality work. The word gets around about who you are, and then they call you. You're not going to find this job on Google. No, that's not what this is. They find you, and they usually find you because somebody who knows people knows you, and that's how you get in the game. Any of you has ever gotten a job? Any of you ever got a really good job because you knew the right person, not because you found it on some random job board? How many of you can think about in your career or your life, the best business deal you ever did or the best job you ever had came from some type of networking connection you had, not you just randomly finding the job posted on the internet or on some bulletin board somewhere? Give me a yes or a no in the comments if that's been your experience. Best business deal you ever did, or a very lucrative business deal, or a great job you ever got was because you knew somebody, or somebody knew you, or somebody heard about you, and that's how you got the offer. Not because, again, you applied with 50 other people and they just picked your resume. That's not how it happens, folks. The way big business goes down is relationships, networking, connections. It's because you knew the right person knew you. So see, everybody here is saying it. All of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Every really great deal you've ever done, that's how it happens. So Turner Frank said, my current job, because I was coaching his son. Barb said, head hunters. My husband used to get calls from them. He's an engineer. Yeah, I know some people who work as headhunters. That's a very good paying job too. So if you don't want to be the person working the job, you could be the headhunter who helps people get jobs. Turner said, I make low six figures because of it. Terry Mills said, the job I have now because I knew someone. Dolphin said, I was hired with higher pay, less experience than others because two who vouched for me. Yeah, that's the game. Every job I've ever gotten said, Dawn said that networking is vital. Jenny said these jobs come with stress. So yes, they do. I didn't say they didn't. I just told you you're working 100 hours a week. 100 hours a week, 14-hour days, folks. So this is what it is. Now, the high end tier is $500K to $2 million a year. All right, that's the high end, $500K to $2 million a year. They said total people in this band globally is about 2,000 to 5,000 people. So you got a better chance of getting this job than making it to the NBA or the NFL actually put together, is being a high-end engineer at one of these companies. Now, there usually at any time, only a few hundred openings. There are a couple thousand. He can come in. He can come in. He can come in. You want to come in?
I want a gummy bear.
Okay. You want to say hi to the live stream audience?
No.
You say hi, TikTok.
Hi, TikTok.
Did you eat your breakfast yet?
Yes.
You did? What'd you eat?
Nothing.
So I caught you lying. So after you eat your breakfast, then we can eat some snacks, okay?
I can eat a little bit at a time first.
Yeah, I don't have them in here either. So now when I tell you that, you're probably going to not want to sit here, right? How'd you sleep last night? Okay, now he don't want to talk anymore. He wants gummy bears. We bought some gummy bears from the store yesterday. He knows I have them, so that's all he wants. Close the door, son. Thank you. So, where was I? 5,000 job openings. All right, 5,000 job openings total here, but only a few hundred are actually available. That means 5,000 total jobs, a few hundred openings. And these 100 openings do not get posted on LinkedIn, ladies and gentlemen. You want one of these, you got to know people, and people got to know you. That's the game, is you got to know people, and people got to know you. You got to make yourself findable in your industry. Mostly quiet recruitment, not job boards. Now, let's see the normal market. Let's expand a little bit wider. The normal market. So if you're a solid engineer or AI engineer or data scientist and you have AI skills, or you're an applied researcher, that's a person with a master's or a PhD, is helpful but not always required. 2 to 10 years experience, and you're proficient in some things I never heard of. PyTorch or TensorFlow. See, this stuff starts to make my head hurt. Whatever these things are. All right. So total AI related job openings in the USA right now, 30 to 50,000. Now, these are LinkedIn level jobs. So if you want to be in the bigger pool, these are LinkedIn level jobs, 30 to 50,000 jobs. And they require certain skills. And globally, it's easily 100,000 jobs available. Now, AI engineer roles grew 2 to 3 times a year between 2024 and this year. So again, you want to tell your kids something that's going to help them and they're guaranteed to have a job, tell them to be engineers. Now, I said that as a tongue-in-cheek thing, by the way. Okay, I'm not telling you got to tell your kids to be an engineer. If they don't want to be an engineer, you don't have to be one. Those are my backgrounds in sports. So for years, when I used to make basketball content online, I would get messages from kids all the time. And when I say kids, I mean people between the ages of 12 and 21. And they would be athletes trying to play a sport. But their challenge was they had a conflict at home. Their conflict at home was that their parents wanted them to give up the sports thing and focus on something that was more sustainable for their future, i.e. become a doctor, become an engineer. It was usually doctors or engineers. I would get this all the time. Licensed, high-level professionals with a guaranteed career path. And they would ask me for advice because they're like, well, how do I talk to my parents about this? Because my parents think basketball is stupid and they don't think there's any chance of me making it there, but they know it's guaranteed I'll make money if I become an engineer because my mom's a lawyer, my dad's a doctor. They want me to be an engineer. I want to be an engineer, Dre, and I don't like my parents trying to force me into doing it. I'm 15. I really want to play basketball. How do I talk to my parents about this? If any of you actually has that question, I have videos on YouTube where I've literally addressed this question. I addressed it multiple times over the years because I got many people asking it. So when I say tell your kids to be an engineer if they want a job, I'm saying it in a tongue-in-cheek way, but at the same time, I'm being dead serious because I'm reading you the data right here. This is where the money's at, and this is where a guaranteed job is at. So I understand you if you're a parent trying to tell your kids this, and I also understand if you're a kid telling your parent, shut the fuck up. All right, I don't want to do that. I get it. So y'all figure that out. You're the parent. You figured out what to do. Now, AI engineer roles grew, as I said, 2 to 3 times just in the last year. Just in the last year, AI engineer roles have grown 2 to 3 times. So this is a market. If you want to get yourself into a market that is growing, this is it. Engineers in AI. That's it. AI engine, LinkedIn 2025. This is what they said. Jobs on the rise list. Number 1, AI engineer. Number 2, AI consultant. So there you have it. All right, don't take my word for it. Take LinkedIn's word for it. And LinkedIn knows the job market. Now let's talk about the money. Let's talk about the money because that's what everybody wants to know, right? The money. If you're an entry-level engineer, your average compensation starts at $150,000 a year, up to $250K. That's entry level. Your first 3 years working there, and it's 100. And so even at the lowest level, you're at 120. High level about 300K. Mid level, 3 to 7 years working, you're making 300K to 550K a year. Mid level, and if you're senior level, top level, you're running a team. $500K to $1.2 million a year. Now, if you're working in big tech, Google, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, you work in one of those companies, you're making $400,000 to $900,000 a year if you're a mid-level or senior level engineer. I know people who have gotten jobs at these companies. You know how many interviews you go through to get a job at Google? And you know the answer? Give me a number. How many interviews you got to do to get a job at Google? I'm not even talking about these people. I'm just talking about just a job, period. And tap the screen, folks. Let's get the likes up. We're at 30,000 likes. How many interviews you go through to get a job at Google? Do y'all know? I see 3, 5, 4, 2, 7, 6, 5 to 8. I know somebody got a job at Google. They did 8 interviews. 8 interviews to get the job at Google. And this wasn't even, I don't even think it was a full-time job. It was like a consultant job, a temporary consultant job. They did 8 rounds of interviews to get the job. It's crazy. And at a higher level job, they probably did more than that. Now, if you're working for some hot startup, $700K to $1.5 million, and you get equity. So if the company blows up, you become a millionaire. Like you got in with Apple in 1980. If you're non-tech, you're working in finance, healthcare, or retail, but you work in the AI part of the company, you'll make $250K up to $600,000. So you work for Nordstrom, working in their AI department, you can make $600,000. Remote hybrid is common. Half of them are remote and hybrid. So those of you who like to work independently, a lot of people down here in Miami are remote workers. So they're in their house all day. And a lot of buildings down here in South Florida are being built based on people who work from home. So they're building the building like the entire ecosystem of the building is for people who work from home. So we're going to do all these kind of events and networking events and meet your neighbors and all this stuff where basically the whole building becomes the condo or the apartment building becomes your entire life because you don't know anybody. And you work from home, so you're a fucking hermit with no social skills. So let's fix that with the building. The building is going to fix it for you. But what you should do, instead of hoping the building fix it for you, get into my power presence protocol. I will help you with some real, actual, real life skills, not some talk by you by some real estate nerd who doesn't know what they're talking about. Different conversation for a different day. Now, this demand is still massively outpacing supply. In other words, when I say demand is outpacing supply, for those who don't know what that means, is that there are more jobs open than there are qualified people to take them. So any of you thinking that the job market is dried up, no, it's not dried up. You just don't have the right skills for the right job. The demand outpaces supply. There are more of these jobs available than there are people able to take them. So your kids getting out of school, if they get that engineering degree, they are guaranteed to have a job. Tell your kids, get the engineering degree, work in the engineering space for about 5 to 10 years, stack up the 6 figures of money in your bank account, then go be a guitarist, and then go start your band. All right, you can tell them that. I'm not sure it's going to sell, but you can try it. And I'm saying this just because we're talking about the business market right now. So there's a ton of money poaching happening out there. So for the person who asked this question, that's the answer to the question. Now, back to where we were. A lot of Apple's number, again, some say is accounting smoke, that they're just making it look like bigger than what it actually is, that they already spend $150 billion a year domestically doing this stuff. So they're just dressing it up. This is all part of the political game, as I explained to you all earlier, that when you have a big company like Apple, you're in politics, even though you're technically not in politics. You're in it because the government notices all that money. And they notice all that money and they're asking themselves, how can we get a cut of that money? And they will get a cut of that money one way or another. So Apple had to do what they had to do. Tim Cook had to go to Donald Trump and kiss the ring and say, all right, what do we got to do, President Trump, to make sure we get to keep most of our money? And Donald Trump told them what they need to do. Now they're doing it. This is the way it works. This is the way it works in the government. And it doesn't matter if it was Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or whoever else. This is the way it works. Actually, it'd be worse if it was one of them. Now, the Houston AI server facility, because Donald Trump, not a billionaire, but a businessman. He's an entrepreneur himself, so he understands. Now, let Barack Obama be the president. Looking at that, you're not going to get as good of a deal. Again, different conversation for a different day. Now, this Houston AI server facility shows that Apple wants to build some hardware close to home, i.e. in the United States. So it's a $250,000 square foot plant supporting Apple Intelligence features that are launching in 2026. So y'all know how I use iPhone. They have this Apple Intelligence. Personally, I'm not a fan. I'm not fond of Apple Intelligence stuff. I just haven't gotten into it. I like third-party intelligence stuff. So I like Grok. I like ChatGPT. But Apple's intelligence, I've never really liked it. I don't even like Siri. Every time I get an Apple device, I turn off Siri. I don't use Siri for anything. I'm not a fan. I don't think it's that good. But maybe it is. I prefer the independent third-party AI stuff. But Apple's investing, as you can see, a lot of money into this to make their shit better. And they need to. And I understand why. Maybe they'll try to buy OpenAI. That might cost them too much money. Now, the iPhone assembly, this is the biggest part of Apple's supply chain, is putting the phone together, the actual assembly of the phone. Those of you who don't know, more than 50% of Apple's revenue comes from selling the iPhone. Most of their money comes from one product, that phone. Now, the assembly of that phone still remains overseas. Now, none of this pledge involves shifting that manufacturing back from China. That's where they assemble most of their phones because it's cheaper. It's cheaper to hire people there to do it than it is to hire people in America. Their costs will go up crazy if they were to start assembling those phones in America. And being that that's the thing they spend most of their time on, that would cost them a lot of money. It would take a big chunk out of their profits that they take home every year. And therefore, maybe their CEOs and C-suite people might need to take a pay cut, or their shareholders, I'm a shareholder of Apple, they would take a cut in their dividends, and they don't want that to happen. So ain't no way that's happening. That ain't happening. So they're not building their phones in America. It's not going to happen unless Americans start eating the bugs and you can work for $6 a day. That's a joke, but it's not a joke. Different conversation for a different day. Now, Apple is doubling its Advanced Manufacturing Fund. This is a thing. That's all capital letters, first letter capitals. Advanced Manufacturing Fund. I've never heard of this. It could boost U.S. chips and glass production. So in other words, let's build some more stuff in America instead of building it overseas if they believe they can make money doing it. Apple's not going to do this if it doesn't make the money. So billions are expected to flow into this place in Arizona and a place called Corning. I guess that's in the United States. So this is, again, it's called the Advanced Manufacturing Fund. And I don't even know what that is. But should we look into that? Do y'all care about the Advanced Manufacturing Fund? Should I look into it and find out what it is or no? What do y'all think? I'm looking it up right now, but if y'all don't want to hear about it, then I'll ignore it. What is Apple's Advanced Manufacturing Fund. All right, let's find out what it is. Okay. It just said Corning. It didn't say where. So maybe that is New York. It said Arizona and Corning. So Apple's Advanced Manufacturing Fund is a multi-billion-dollar investment launched in 2017 by Apple. It aims to foster not cost cutting. They're not cutting any costs. Cutting-edge manufacturing technologies, create highly skilled jobs, and strengthen domestic supply chains for components used in Apple products such as iPhones, iPads, Apple Watches, and chips. So the whole purpose is, I'm not going to read all this in detail. They want to do more manufacturing I'm assuming this is in America. So they want to do more manufacturing in the United States rather than overseas. That's what they're trying to do. So that they're not relying on foreign manufacturing, especially Asia, while supporting American jobs and technology leadership. I already explained this to you all. They want to give more jobs to Americans. And the trade-off of giving more jobs to Americans is that Americans require more money when they have a job. Therefore, the costs are going to go up. So the consumers have to pay more, but you're paying more, but more other people have jobs. So it's just a matter of, can you triage this in a way that makes sense? So if I'm running the business, I say, all right, instead of hiring overseas, I'm going to hire Americans. That means my payroll costs are going to go up. And with my payroll costs going up, I'm going to raise the prices of my products. So customers are going to grumble about the fact that my products cost more money. But although my products cost more money, now I just gave 1,000 people a job. So now those 1,000 people with a job, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go out and spend their discretionary income at different places on the weekends and when they're off work. My bet as the business owner is that money that gets distributed all around the economy because I gave 1,000 people a job is eventually going to find its way back into my pocket because more consumers are going to buy my products, even though my prices have gone up. If I'm right on that, then it's a great idea. And I can just keep hiring more people in America, even though my prices go up. If I'm wrong on that, then I'm spending more money on payroll, yet I'm not seeing that money come back to me eventually in the long run. So this is the trade-off here. If you either outsource your work or you bring it home to America, there's no perfect answer to this. So when you hear Donald Trump and others talking about tariffs, or you hear about hiring American or outsourcing work, there's a balance that you have to strike. And balance does not mean 50-50. It means adding up to 100. Does this make sense for us? Do we get to eventually see this money come back into our pockets, even though our costs are going up? So if Apple, for example, start doing a lot of their manufacturing and instead of outsourcing it, start doing it here in America, the cost of that iPhone will go from $1,000 to $2,000. How many of you would pay $2,000 for an iPhone? Actually, the newest iPhone right now, I think if you get the biggest capacity, is like $1,500. So let's say the iPhone was $3,000. Would you buy it? Would you spend $3,000 on an iPhone? Yes or no? Those of you who have an iPhone that costs at least $1,500, would you spend $3,000? It might not go up that much. I'm exaggerating here. Let's say it was $2,000. Would you spend $2,000 on an iPhone? Now remember, you don't have to buy the phone in cash. You don't have to buy it all outright in cash. Would you spend $2,000 on an iPhone? Give me a yes or a no. Would you spend $2,000? Again, you don't have to buy it in cash. A lot of people buy their iPhones on payment plans. So you might be paying $60 a month for the next 2.5 years. Would you do that? Would you spend $60 a month for 2.5 years to get the new iPhone? It's $2,000. If it's $2,000 for the phone. Shonda said, I just bought my first and last. The answer is no. Okay. A lot of you are saying no. I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on a bunch of you saying no, that you would not buy this phone. You will buy the phone. What else are you going to buy? What are you going to do? You're just going to keep your old iPhone? You're going to go switch to an Android? What are you going to do? There's only two options you got. You got Android, you got iPhone, you got no smartphone. What are you going to do? I would spend $2,000 on an iPhone. I would spend $2,000 on the phone. If I want to pay it in cash up front, I'll get on a payment plan and I'll pay $60 a month for the next 2 years or whatever it is to pay off the phone. And the reason why Apple, again, their bet is, even though our costs went up of our phones, people are going to still pay it. They're going to bitch about it, but we want to see that money come back around the economy to us. That's the bet that you're making when you do something like this. So these are all tricky questions when it comes to money in the economy, especially when you're talking about masses of people and masses of money. Now, Apple's splashy announcement followed a private meeting with Trump, as I told you. Political motives, of course there are. This timing coincides with Trump threatening new tariffs on anything made in China. That's what Trump is doing. So he's saying anything you make over there, we're going to tariff it. Apple makes a lot of stuff over there. So Apple said, hey, President Trump, can we talk? And they had to talk. Why? Because he understands this. Now, R&D, which is research and development, expansions across 9 states will create high-paying engineering jobs. So they're creating more engineer jobs. We just talked about engineer jobs a lot. So Apple plans growth in the following states. Any of you want to know? You want to get a job at Apple? They're going to build in California. They're going to build in Texas. They're building in Michigan, and they're building in the PNW, Pacific Northwest. So that's mostly going to be Washington State, probably maybe some Idaho, maybe some Oregon. Now, these roles don't help the average American worker. If you're the average American worker, this does not help you because they require specialized expertise. Again, go back to school, get your engineering degree. There's the money there. There's a ton of money there. I just broke it down for you. There's a ton of money in the engineering space right now. Now, these jobs are mostly in AI, silicon, and software, not broad manufacturing. So you learn those things, there's money. Now, let's shift gears and talk about Starbucks. Now, that one, all of you can relate to, even if you don't drink Starbucks. There are plenty of Starbucks near me. I don't eat there, but I know people, or eat or drink there, but I know people who do. Now, the Starbucks layoffs show that they are reacting to weaker consumer demand. Starbucks, according to many of you in the comments, is the highest priced coffee that there is. So their same store sales have fallen for multiple quarters. Those of you who don't know what that means is they compare the sales that the store did in November of last year to the sales that the same store is doing in November of this year. And the numbers are worse. So what the hell is going on? That means fewer people are buying from us. We got to do something about this. Starbucks is doing something about it by shutting down some stores. Now, they also reveal, these cuts reveal economic stress amongst everyday consumers, because everyday consumers, when they feel like their money is all right, they will spend $8 on a coffee. But when they feel like their money's not all right, they say, let me go to the local spot or Dunkin' Donuts and spend $3 on a coffee. People start pinching their pennies. When people start pinching pennies, less money moves in the economy. And if that gets to an extreme, we get a recession or a depression. That's why you want the money moving. That's the reason why I explained to you all, even if you don't drink Starbucks, even if you don't work in AI, even if you don't have an engineering degree, I fit all three of those descriptions. I don't drink Starbucks, don't work in AI, don't have an engineering degree. I still want the money moving. I like when there's a bunch of people at Starbucks standing in line 20 deep to buy a damn $8 coffee, even though I don't drink coffee, or make money off coffee. Why? Because that line outside of Starbucks tells me that a lot of people feel good about their money and therefore they're willing to spend it, which makes me as an entrepreneur happy, because that means when I go sell my stuff, the overall optimism of the marketplace means more people are going to be willing to part with their money to get something that they want. That's good news for anybody who's in sales. If you're in sales, you want people feeling good about money, even if the thing that you're looking at has nothing to do with you, because that means money's moving. When money is moving, that's good for anybody who's in sales. I don't know if there's anybody who wants money to not be moving. Only people who want money to not be moving is the Democrats when the Republicans are in charge, or the Republicans when the Democrats are in charge, because then they can make them look bad. But everybody else, I don't care who the president is, what administration is in charge, you want money moving, because it eventually finds its way back to you. Even if that means a Christmas gift or a vacation, or let alone you selling something. So Starbucks $1 billion back to Starbucks plan. This is a new plan. This is back to Starbucks. It's proper now. It aims to simplify operations and revive the brand. All right, so hopefully they don't do a Cracker Barrel on us, but this is what they're doing. They're going to remodel stores. I'm fine with that. They're going to simplify the menu. I'm also fine with that. And they're going to do service tweaks. I'm fine with that as well. Again, I'm not a Starbucks customer, but those sound pretty good. I don't think Starbucks is as stupid as Cracker Barrel, so I think they'll be all right. Now, at the same time, they're laying off 2,000 people at the corporate level. At the corporate level, they're laying a bunch of people off. Get the likes up, folks. We're at 48,000 likes. We need to get to 100,000 by 10 o'clock. Like the live, please. Please like the live. Those of you who are watching on TikTok, like the live.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Tap the screen. Let's get to 50,000 likes, please, before I continue. A few more points, then we'll open up the floor for discussion. Please tap the screen. Let's get to 50,000 likes. We want to get to 100,000 by the end of this live here today. Tap the screen, please, folks. Tap, 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 tap. Y'all know how to tap the screen. Y'all tap the screen probably 10,000 times a day. Tap the screen here the same way that you normally do. Now, continuing. Slit282 said, what kind of engineer? People who understand AI, people who know anything about AI. You have, even if you're a junior coming in, I would suggest you maybe go look up on their website to see what kind of engineers they're hiring. I didn't go into the detail, or just go on Grok and ask the question. It'll tell you. But maybe I'll look that up. Actually, now that you're asking, let me look it up. When talking about these engineering jobs, what type of engineer do you need to be to get these jobs in the tech space where there is all this demand but low supply, and these jobs that are starting at $250K and up into the millions? What type of engineer is this? Let's see what Grok has to say to answer your question. So it's the exact breakdown of engineering roles. So Machine learning engineers, these are the people who are starting at $250,000, even entry level, you're making $250K. If you're an AI research assistant or an AI engineer, you're starting at $300K. This is you fresh off your PhD. If you're an applied scientist or applied AI engineer, $250K. This is starting baseline salary. Infrastructure system engineer, this is $300K. If you're an AI safety or alignment engineer, this is $250K. And then I'm just giving you the low number. If you're a robotics AI engineer, like you're working at Tesla, that's $300,000. You're getting $300,000 from Elon to break off of his $1 trillion. And the degrees that you would actually get, the degrees you need, any of you wondering, computer science PhD. The top programs are Stanford, Berkeley, MIT, CMU, Oxford, and Toronto. Now, can you get into those colleges? Different conversation. Computer science, math, or physics, masters or bachelors. These can get you in. If you have a great GitHub or portfolio, whatever that means, that's some nerd language that I cannot translate for you. If you're a self-taught prodigy who has shipped some actual products, so if you taught yourself, you didn't go to college, but you have some proof of concept that you're actually good, there are a lot of people with no degree who make $1 to $5 million a year, by the way. So you don't have to go to college. There are people with no degree making $1 to $5 million a year because they proved that they know what they're doing by launching a product. These are entrepreneurs who are also engineers. Now, the hard skills they want is something called PyTorch, PyTorch. I don't know what that is, but you should know what it is. Plus JAX or Mojo, Transformers Library, inside and out, distributed training, CUDA or Triton kernel writing, LLM, that's language learning, large language learning models, fine tuning, LoRa, quantization, inference optimization, or large scale data pipelines. I don't know what any of that shit means that I just read, but any of you engineer nerds should understand that. Now, you go look it up and you'll know exactly what it is. Now, what should you call yourself? Either a machine learning engineer, an AI engineer, an applied scientist, a research engineer, or an AI infrastructure engineer. All right, so those are the things you should be if you want to get one of these jobs. So whoever asked that question is your answer. And I got that straight off Grok. So you can ask Grok the same question if you want to see it yourself. Now, Starbucks laying off 2,000 people risks damaging their institutional knowledge. I say, yes, it does. It depends on who they fired. The smart people might be the ones who kept their jobs. All right. So they might be the ones who kept their jobs, the people who didn't get fired, but we'll see. So this is the largest corporate cut in the history of Starbucks. That should tell us something. That means something. I don't know what it means yet, but it means something. Now, the retail job base at Starbucks, the baristas, the roasters, the warehouse workers, they remain intact for now. Now, had they fired a bunch of them, this would be a different story told in a completely different way, not by me, but by the internet. But because they're firing corporate people, nobody cares. But if they fired a bunch of baristas, all hell would be breaking loose right now. So all the layoffs were in corporate roles. Now, a net reduction in stores signals that there's a slowdown in Starbucks expansion and Starbucks confidence right now, which is fine. Sometimes you got to scale back. Sometimes you got to go away to make a comeback. I don't think Starbucks is about to go out of business. Let's not go that far. But they closed enough locations that their footprint is shrinking by 1%. That's how big Starbucks is. Now, Apple and Starbucks together show that strengths and weaknesses are concentrated in certain places. At the consumer-facing places like Starbucks, where they're going straight to you and selling you an $8 coffee, they are closing things because people are not spending as much money on that level. But at the AI tech level, where billions of dollars are getting thrown around every single day that we don't actually see, they're expanding rapidly, and there are more jobs than there are people able to fulfill them. That should tell you a lot about where things are going. This is what I explained to you all earlier. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. In the $1 billion space, they're spending even more money, and there's a bunch of roles that they need filled that nobody can fill. At the $8 space, they're constricting, and fewer people are wanting to buy the $8 coffee. Y'all understand? That at this level is getting smaller, and at this level is going higher. Y'all see this? Didn't I tell y'all that the middle class is disappearing? This is what I mean. This is endemic of exactly that. The upper class is just going to keep going up, and the lower class is going to keep going down. I'm not saying if you drink Starbucks, you're a lower class person. I'm just using this as a metaphorical example. That's what's happening right now. And AI and tech are scaling, and consumer-facing brands are tightening. This is the facts of what's happening. And the split also hints that a two-speed economy can widen inequality, which I just told you. It can widen inequality. It is already widening inequality, and it will continue to widen inequality. You will either be at the $8 Starbucks level, you can't pay the $8, or you don't want to pay the $8 anymore, you're constricting down, or you're at this tech level where there's billions of dollars being thrown around and you're playing in this hemisphere up here. And again, it doesn't mean you need to be in tech to be up here. It doesn't mean you need to drink coffee to be down here. Everybody understand the metaphor? Everybody catch what I'm saying here? This is where we're at. So all that said, I do need to take a quick restroom break, and then let's get into the comments, and I'll fire up my soundboard, see if we need it here today. Everybody give me 90 seconds. Let me run to the restroom, and then we'll get into the commentary where we'll hear some of our favorite sounds.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Strawberry cheesecake.
And
have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
let's get to it. And where are we? So Shonda said, wow. What are you saying wow to, Shonda? So y'all like the live, we're at 68,000. I'm not talking about Donald Trump today, so there's not as many people in here. So we'll see if we can get to 100K with what we got. So if y'all like the live, let's see if we can get to 100K. Mark said, work 1 year and retire. I don't know. You might need a little bit more money. You might need a little bit more than 300,000 to retire. Depends on how old you are. Echo said, I love my home life too much. All right, fair enough. You can be a customer. Ashley Wynn says, selling your soul. Well, some people call it that. It depends. If you want to do it, nothing wrong with that. Jenny said, they call you anytime on top of your regular hours. You're probably right. I know some people who work in spaces where it is like that. I've known people working in the health space where it's like that. I knew this girl when I was in college. I was a senior. She was post-grad, but she was still in the college space. And she worked at some type of medical place. And she said to me, she had this beeper. She's like, this beeper goes off at any time. I have to drop everything I'm doing and return the call. And I probably got to go into the office. And it was some type of medical thing she was doing. I don't remember what it was. Now, if you're working in this tech space, they can't call you because you're right there. They ain't got to call you. All they got to do is walk over to the next cubicle because you're right over there working. So there's no call necessary. So KB said, I have a couple friends like this, no life, and they turn crazy. Well, see, what they need is to work with somebody like me so they can up their social skills while at the same time making money. Now, you combine the money with the social skills, you become powerful. Now, you have money and no social skills, you're an awkward geek. And if you got social skills and no money, then you're just a loser. So you got to combine and have both at the same time. And again, that's the reason why we had a Power Presence protocol, to help people with the social skills, the communication skills, the people skills, the leadership skills, all of those things people need anyway. I got people on my text who are asking me about this today, so I'll be responding to them soon. My number to text me, by the way, is 305-384-6894. Nathan Don said the reason the maintenance man works 40 hours a week is because everybody else is working 80. You're probably right. And when I say the maintenance man, what I mean is they're easily replaceable. Steven said, and if y'all think that's a joke, think again. Your life is work, sleep, food is optional for real. Yeah, and Steven's not joking. That is how it is. You work, you get off work, you go to sleep, you wake up, and you go right back to work. There is nothing else to do. And in exchange, you make $700,000 a year. So the question is, are you all right with that? Are you okay with that extreme? Niece said, I'd rather have stock in AI. Fair enough. But understand that when you work there, you get stock too. You get a lot of it. And if you're working there helping the company grow, then that means you're making you're making an investment in yourself as well as in the company. XTR said most work remotely and on call, rotating and in 24-hour shifts to vary every couple of days. Okay, so if you're working, okay, so I get what somebody else who left a comment earlier about they call you anytime. I guess you're talking about you're working remote. Then it makes sense. Yes, so you're working remote. Then yes, they will call you anytime. But again, they usually ain't got to call you because on your second monitor, which is right here on your computer screen, your computer desk, they're watching you on Zoom while you're working. So they ain't got to call you. They're just right there looking at you anyway. So ain't no need to call you. You're right there. I'm being facetious, but that's pretty much how it is. Jenny said they don't pay all that money for nothing. Yeah, that's a fact. Aaron said you got to give up your life to do it. Well, it depends. What do you consider to be life? Some people make it $800,000 a year to work on computers all day because they work on computers all day anyway. They consider that to be life. So it depends on what you consider to be life. Some people think life is, again, going to the park and listen to the birds chirp and being at your kid's soccer game. Some people don't care about that. They just want the money. So it depends. I get what you're saying, though, Aaron. The way most people look at it, you're correct. Aaron said, not on call, you live at work. Yeah, exactly. Ain't no call. They ain't got to call you. You're right there. You got a bed in the office. So they ain't got to call you. They just come into your office and say, yo, get up out of bed and get back to work. Get back on that computer. Barb said, headhunters, my husband used to get calls from them. He's an engineer. Yeah, it means he's usually probably good. If he's getting calls from headhunters, it means he was probably good at what he did. Dolphin said, I was hired with higher pay with less experience. Oh, yeah, I read that one earlier. So a bunch of you said y'all have gotten jobs and opportunities in business through knowing the right people. Business is always P2P, folks. There's no such thing as B2C and B2B and all that shit, those letters people use. Every business is P2P, person to person, all business. Even if you're working in a corporation. If you work with a corporation and your main point person at that corporation quits or gets fired from the job, now, how do you keep doing business with the corporation? Answer is you can't because your main person is not there anymore. So you lose the deal. Your consulting contract is gone because the person who got you the contract doesn't work there anymore. So it's the person that got you the job. It's not the contract. It's the person. If you work at a company and you're doing business with another company, is your 2 point people are what make the deal work. Either one of those people leaves, the deal dies. So all business is P2P. Everybody should always remember that. That's why the people skills matter. That's why power presence protocol. That's why this matters. All right. This matters because this is how you develop the non-verbal, again, the unconscious skills that makes people know you, like you, trust your leadership, trust your authority. This is the thing that makes it work. Even if you're working in a corporate space, even if you are an engineer, is those people skills. Those are the things that'll take you around the world. Or that's the thing that'll take you around the world. Nathan Don said, mission trips to Guatemala Meta Construction Company. You did that? Slit said, after 8 years in Army, my brother got me the job I'm working for over 8 years. Network tech. Good stuff. Knox C said, worst job, city council member. Low pay, high care, work 6 to 12 hours at the working regular job. Yeah, it doesn't sound too good. Jimmy Lott said, most generally, I get a phone call from someone looking for a crane operator. I haven't gone looking. Well, that's good because they know you. Difference maker said, I'll go ahead and time out for you. No, he didn't get a timeout. He's trying to get me to give him some gummy bears. I wasn't giving it to him anyway. I know he didn't eat breakfast. I can smell breakfast and I don't smell anything right now. All right, Philly said, I miss those days with my son. We'll just have another kid. Problem solved. Difference maker said, my boy loves the gummy bear song. XCR said, I almost thought you cut his hair. No, sometimes mom wraps it up in something or puts it in different little styles. Thank you, Dawn. Sarah, thank you for the share. King Osa said, PyTorch and TensorFlow are using AI and machine learning. I'm a software engineer. Yeah, see, King Osa, I don't understand any of that engineer language. I was just reading it off the screen. I don't know what any of that stuff is, and I'm not trying to learn what it is. But thank you for the clarification. Anybody who works in those areas knows exactly what it is. So that's the reason why I read it. You engineers know exactly what that stuff means. I will leave it to y'all. Let's see. Difference maker said, wealth is time freedom. What is the best way to build time, freedom, wealth? Well, it depends, difference maker. There's a lot of different answers to that question. So let's just say I go work as an engineer and I work 14-hour days to get my $800,000 a year. Well, now I got all this money, but I don't have any time, which is what you're referring to. Now, if I build up that money for a certain amount of time and I get enough of a nest egg that I say, all right, I'm good, I'll leave the job. Let's say I got $1 million saved up or $500,000 saved up. Now I got all the time in the world, depending on what I do with that money. Now, that money's not going to last till I retire if I'm 27. So what, or until I die rather, if I'm 27, I can invest it in some way. I may have some stock that I got from the company. If that company blows up, that's even more money. I may keep it. I may sell it. Depending on how long I work there, I can get more or less stock, because usually you get more stock the longer you stay at the company. So they set it up to incentivize you to keep working. Because if you leave, let's say you work at a company that's blowing up. Let's say I go get a job at OpenAI and I'm an engineer. And this is just a raw example. And I'm making $1 million a year. Let's say I'm not that good. Let's say I'm making $500,000 a year. But I got stock options. And I have stock in the company. And I get more stock the longer I work there. And at the same time that I'm working there, I see that the company is elevating and is moving up. It's getting bigger and bigger. More people are using Chat GPT. We're putting out more stuff. So the value of my stock is increasing while I'm working there. And the way the contract is set up, I get more stock the longer I work there. So why would I quit a job? This is my reasoning with myself. Why would I quit this job, even though I have no time? If I quit this job, then I'm going to have to not be able to get more stock. And the stock that I got, I have that, but then I can't increase the amount that I have. And if I'm working there and I'm good, then I'm helping the company become more valuable. If I leave now, I'm taking a risk that whoever replacing me, they might be trash and they're going to make the stock become worth less. Now I don't have a job anymore. And eventually I'm going to have to get another job. So there's a lot of these things you got to figure out how you want to do it, what you want to do. I understand what you're saying, though. Now, difference maker is that you don't have any time, but you got a bunch of money. Is it worth it? And for some people, it is. For some people, it is. And there are some people who have all the time in the world. This morning, I was running through the streets of Miami, and there's homeless people out there. They got all the time in the world. They got plenty of time. Are they wealthy? Not really, because they can't do shit because they ain't got nothing. So, yes, wealth is time freedom. I get directionally what you're saying. You're saying wealth is time freedom when you have resources to do something with the time. But you have no resources whatsoever and a whole bunch of time. It doesn't matter that you have time. Your time is worthless because you can't do shit. But I don't think you mean it that way. I'm being extreme here. And I say what happens is, well, I will theorize what happens with a lot of people is that they'll work in those spaces for a while. Then they're like, I got to get out because, again, I have no time, I have no life. I want to have a wife. I want to have kids, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to actually be around for my family, but they want to build up their money first. So maybe they'll work there for 10 years or whatever it is, or until this bubble bursts, if there is a bubble. We'll see. So it's a lot of things to consider. What you say is a valid point, though. Thank you for adding that. RC Happy Feet, thanks for the share. K1 said, my son has a master's in cybersecurity. He should take your class. Yes, he should. I find that a lot of people who work in those spaces, actually, it doesn't have to be a certain space. In my experience, males, because these are heavily male populated industries, these industries where you have to be really smart, it's knowledge work, and you're on a computer a lot. In those spaces, I meet a lot of males who don't have highly developed social skills, simply because they're not around people that much, or the only people they're around are other people who are like them. They don't spend enough time around women, and even though they're heterosexual men, but they're at work all the time. That's the reason why they make money. So there's this mix of things that leads to this situation that they can't solve. They don't have the social tools. They want to talk to girls, but they don't know how to. They can't even really talk to men outside of people who they work with. And they need the social skills. And eventually they get to a point where they realize that they need the social skills. That's when they eventually find their way to people like me. So, Kawan, you are correct. Your son should. If he works in cybersecurity, you say he has a master's. I don't know if he is working in it, but if he's a computer geek, let's just call them computer geeks. All right, they know computer geeks. You know you're a computer geek if you're a computer geek. All right, computer geeks, especially men, usually they're men. Those social skills are important, and eventually you're going to realize that you need them. Usually, by the time they get to about definitely by the mid-30s, men understand this, but sometimes they understand it sooner. In my experience. Dawn Pelter said, I use AI daily. Me too. I'm not an engineer. Me neither. How can I begin a new career in AI? I'm 57 years old. Well, AI, what you can do if you really want to start a new career, if you're serious, then you have to start studying the same way you got the career that you had in the past. You got to study. Now, you're facing an uphill battle because somebody's going to look at you and say, well, you're 57. How long are you going to be around? Career-wise. I'm not talking life-wise, but career-wise. So it depends on what kind of career you're talking, Dawn. TJ Epsy, thanks for the share. Brenda Diaz, thanks for the follow. K9 said, what about Gemini? Gemini is Google's product, right? So yeah, I see the Gemini notations every time I open Gmail. They're trying to get me to use Gemini for everything. Google Docs. I'm not a big fan of Apple or Google's AI tools. The one thing I do like from Google is that what's it called? Notebook LM. Notebook LM I like. You can plug something in there. For example, I took the whole PDF to this or the Word document. I plugged it in Notebook LM and it creates a bunch of stuff like study guides, quizzes. There's actually very useful stuff I could actually add to this manual. That I like that. I like the Notebook LM from Google, but as far as their AI tools, I'm not a fan of Apple's or Google's. And at the same time, I'll say in their defense, I haven't used either one of them that much. I like ChatGPT enough that I haven't gone looking around at other options. And I like Grok. I like Grok and ChatGPT so far. Quail Ridge said Corning. There's a Corning in California too. So they didn't say which Corning they were talking about, so I don't know. Probably California. I would guess it'd be California before it'd be New York. My guess. Shirley B. Good morning. Leah. Good morning. Thank you for the fast cheers. Courtney. Good morning. So a bunch of you said you wouldn't pay $1,000 for that phone. I disagree. I'm calling bullshit on y'all. Y'all will pay for that phone. Susan says Samsung all the way. Okay. Feather said people spend that on purses. They spend more than that. I was in a department store. Where was I? I can't remember which store it was. I think it was what's the name of that store? It's not Nordstrom, not Bloomingdale's. Was it Saks Fifth? No, it was another department store. What's the name of that? There's another department store. Was it Neiman Marcus? Might have been Neiman Marcus. I can't remember. I was in some department store and I was walking through the store and there was a whole section in the store that all they sold were handbags. It was like a whole section. You know how inside the stores they'll have each brand will have their own little space. So you got the Louis Vuitton, you got the Gucci, and they had that. I've seen that before for clothes and I've seen it for shoes. I never saw it for handbags. They had one for handbags and it was just all handbags. And I said, okay, that makes perfect sense. Maddie said, I hate the idea, but yes, I need the phone. There you go. Maddie, I think you're the one being honest here. A bunch of y'all saying no. I don't think y'all are telling the truth. You would buy that phone. Gary Gray said people would. I bought my Samsung Fold for $2,000. Yes, people would buy that phone. And Apple has engineered it in such a way that most of you could not survive without that phone. Roseanne says, sure, the technology is what I need to survive in this world. Then yes. Yeah, the same one that you need right now. They just raised the price on you. That's the only difference. Carolyn said, I'm on Android. Well, here's what I'll tell you about Android. If Apple raised their price to $2,000, Android is raising their price. So you're going to pay $2,000 for a phone one way or another. Stacy said, I keep my own one until it doesn't work anymore, then buy refurbished. Okay. You're what do they call that? You're a money-wise spender. You're a money-conscious spender. Fair enough. There's another word I'm looking for that's skipping my brain. Difference maker said payment plan for sure. You know, and the payment plan doesn't feel like $2,000. It's actually closer to $3,000, but you're not facing a hit every month in your pocket, or at least not at once. In your pocket. It's a smaller hit every month. Nana said, I remember struggling to pay $40 for a landline. Understood. Nathan said, if you have an Apple, you're spending it. Yes, you are. Turner said over 36 months. Yes, unfortunately. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. Or you get on the iPhone for life. Any of you got iPhone for life? I see them always pushing that. I never do. I never signed up for that. I just buy the phone outright. I just buy the phone in cash and I keep the old phone. So any of you want to know how I can stream in 7 different places at the same time is I keep my old phones. I don't trade them in when I get a new phone. Susan said, I think we have to. If we don't, we are hurting buckaroos economically in the U.S. What does that mean? Ginger Girl said, I just bought a 15 for $600, wouldn't get the 17. Okay, fair enough. So you got the older version for a cheaper price. That's a smart way to do things, as long as you don't mind being a couple of versions behind. Only there to request. Said, I swear to God, salesmen are the people with the most game on planet Earth. That's a fact. And game doesn't mean manipulating people. It means just helping people understand what they already understand, but contextualizing it in such a way that gives them permission to do what they know they need to do anyway. That's what a salesperson does. Salesperson is not, our job as salespeople is not to get you to do something that you don't want to do. It's to get you to do something that you already know you want to do. You just need someone to help you understand why to do it now, and to facilitate you actually doing it. Right? That's the job of a salesperson. It doesn't matter what you're selling. That is the time to start software engineer training at 30 SMH. 30 is not that old. And yes, you can start a new career at 30. A lot of people do. Phyllis Shepard, thanks for the share. Leah, thank you for the lightning bolt. We're 95,000 likes, folks. Thank you for getting the likes up, everybody. Jason Bazin, thanks for the share. Stephen Albert said, about time people got smart. Starbucks is outrageous expensive. Excuse me. Well, that's what a lot of you are saying is expensive, but a lot of people like the brand. Same way the iPhone is expensive, but a lot of people buy the phones. So a lot of us buy stuff that compared to any other version you could get in the open market, you're paying a lot more than you need to, but we do it anyway. If you think about it, everyone has some category of their life in which they do this. Nana Cat said, I make better coffee at home. I think everybody can make better coffee at home, man. I think people are just lazy. That's the reason why Starbucks exists. Like, anybody can make food at home, but we still go to restaurants because we're lazy. We don't want to have to make the food. So we go somewhere else to get an experience, and so that we don't have to do the work. We'll spend money to replace work. Little Red said there are many new coffee shops as well. Yeah, I'm sure you got the local shops. So down here in Miami, there's a ton of local coffee shops that everybody sells coffee out here. Coffee is a big business down here. Probably a big business everywhere. So I answered that question about what type of engineer. XTR said computer science. When I first went to college, I was starting off as a computer science major, but then I changed it to psychology and I changed it to business. Sassy Shonda, thanks for the follow. Owen said, do you offer coaching services? Yes, I do. Click the link in my profile, Owen, and you can schedule a time to talk with us about our mastermind. King Osa said, GitHub is a place where engineers show their work. Now, I know a little bit about GitHub. I have heard about that. But I've never used it myself. I'm not an engineer, so I have no work to show. Shout out to the engineers out there. We need the engineers because the engineers make all this stuff that we use every day and we can't explain it. People like me. Mickey Karen, thank you for the love so much. Jay Monique said, ChatGPT is an LLM. Now that I did know. That part I knew. Miss Watkins says, Starbucks has closed their first and main store in Seattle. Is that true? I didn't know that. PGL said, you talk so much but don't know much of anything. I disagree. But I'll give you.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Susan said, we just got 2 brand new Starbucks here. One standalone and one in the grocery store. Yeah, so they do the integration, put the store inside the store. So Starbucks inside of a Target. Those are what we call collaborations. Good business idea for both businesses. Billie Jean said, do you ever find yourself repeating the sounds throughout the day? No, I don't, because I don't say them. I just play them. So during the day, I don't even think about these things. But I do. If I'm on X, sometimes I call out people's straw man arguments because people do it all the time. Vintage Toy Gallery said, Christmas decorations before or after Thanksgiving? Absolutely after. Now, if you're buying a Christmas tree right now, it's not even Thanksgiving yet. What are you doing? Your tree is going to die before Christmas. Those Christmas trees are not, as soon as you cut them off from their roots, they're starting to die. So if you're buying a Christmas tree before Thanksgiving, your tree is going to be dead on Christmas Day. You're going to be having your kids open presents under a dead tree. The tree is technically already starting to die because it already got cut off. But no. You do not put up Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, you start doing the Christmas thing. Ideally, you give it about a week, and then you wait till it's actually December to get your Christmas tree. Because a lot of people keep their Christmas trees till like New Year's Day, right? Isn't that traditionally in America, you keep the tree till like New Year's Day? So, no, you do not start doing up Christmas decorations yet. It's too early. Leah, thank you for the lightning bolt. We're at 100,000 likes, everybody. Thank you. Roseanne asked, "Are my books on Audible?" Yes, they are. All my books are on Audible. Stephen Albert said, "How do we get that book, Dre? This book right here. You get this book by being a member of my Power Presence Mastermind. The link is in my profile. Get into the Power Presence Mastermind. You get this book. You don't buy this book. I just send you this book. This book is not for sale. And what's in this book, I wouldn't even feel right selling this book because you got to be in the mastermind to even understand what's in this. This is a 324-page book. I've already added some pieces to it. So actually the next round of printouts that we do with this book is actually going to be longer. Let me find out because I got the file somewhere on my laptop. Let me tell you how many pages the manual is right now. Like right now today, if I printed this out, it's 377 pages. So I actually added 50 pages to this manual since the last time I printed it out. So this is actually a 377-page manual. And there was a note that I meant to give to myself. Now that I'm talking about it, I just remembered what it was. And I'm going to make a note. right now because it was something I was thinking today that I knew I needed to do, but it slipped my mind later on. You ever thinking to yourself something you need to write down, and then when you finally get around to writing it down, you forgot it? That happened to me today. But now that you just clicking on the circle and the chip, okay. Now that you just asked me that question, I remember what it was. Leah, thank you for the lightning bolt. Leather and Pearl, thank you for the lightning bolt. Rick Thomas said, once your kids are gone, what difference what wealth make? Time is not for sale. When you say wealth, what are you talking about? You talking about money? When you say wealth, what are you referring to? Stephen Albert, thank you for the DJ glasses. Sold by Misty, thank you for the reposts. Darren Beat said Grok is most useful. I like Grok for current events, like up-to-date stuff, because they pull all their information from X. I like ChatGPT for evergreen stuff. Rick Thomas said chicken is much better fried.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Marky Man said Corning, California is in the middle of nowhere. That's how they like it, Marky. That's why they might build something there, because they got plenty of land and space. They can build whatever they want. Keep on said, are your kids homeschooled? My son's only 3 years old, so he technically wouldn't be in school yet. But if he needed to go to school starting today, keep on living life, he absolutely would be homeschooled by the best teacher available to him, which is me. So yes. Yes, frugal is a word. That's not the word I was thinking of, but frugal is a fine word that we could use for it too. Rick Thomas said, I will buy the phone. A lot of complaining, but I will purchase. All of you will buy the phone. All of you will buy that phone. If they raise the price of that phone, y'all understand the price of the iPhone has been slowly rising every time they put a new phone out, right? And we're on an iPhone 17. So how many of them have you owned? Every time a new phone comes out, the price is a little bit higher than the last one. Keep on living said I have an iPhone 8. Is that your active phone? Is an iPhone 8? Do you have apps on it? Karina says, not just expensive is nasty. Rather spend it on a better business. What, you talking about Apple? You're calling Apple nasty? What do you mean? Darren Beach said exactly. Susan Sunshine and Whiskey said, medical imaging is a great career path and provides many pathways for growth. All right, I'll take your word for it. Mama KJB said, I love 7 Brew. I'm assuming that's coffee. I have no idea who they are. Matt said, you can always buy their ingredients that they have a coffee shops. You mean, are you talking about Starbucks? But then you would have to go make it. See, the thing is, I can buy the ingredients of the burger and fries that I ate at a restaurant last week, but I don't want to fucking make a burger and fries. I don't want to wash the dishes. I don't want my kitchen smell like burger and fries. So I'd rather just go to the restaurant, pay them, and let them do the work. That's the reason the restaurant industry exists, and is the experience as well. We got to consider that. Keep on saying, have you been to Haulover Beach? Yes. I've been to every beach in South Florida. If there's a beach in South Florida, I've been there. So anywhere from West Palm on down, I've been. From what is it called? Key Biscayne, Miami, Miami-Dade County, Broward County, which includes Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm County, which includes West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, etc. I've been everywhere in these places I've been to. The only place I haven't been in these areas that I just named is I ain't been to Trump's Mar-a-Lago. I haven't been there yet. So if Trump invites me, I'll go. But I have not been invited. Everywhere else I've been. Heather said coffee is a huge business in Oregon and Washington. Yeah, that's why I corrected myself. I think coffee is a big business everywhere. Because everybody drinks coffee. Everybody. And a lot of people think they need coffee. They believe they need coffee to start their day. A lot of people have been sold that concept. So great for the caffeine industry. Sunshine said Microsoft Copilot is great AI. I'm sure it is. Miss Watkins said they closed the locations near Pike Place in Seattle. Okay, I've been there too. I've been to Pike Place. I haven't been to the Starbucks there, but I've been there. I've been to the Space Needle. Shout out to the Space Needle. And I've been to, what's the name of the place where they have all the fish? What's the name of that place in Seattle where it's all the fish and stuff? It's like that open, it's like an open market and they sell the fish. And then like a few steps away from there is the Space Needle. Because when I was in Seattle, that's where I went. I went over there and I saw the fish and stuff and I was taking pictures. Then I went over to the Space Needle and whatever you do, you pay to go in the Space Needle. I did that. What's that place called in Seattle? Tim Rockwell says Starbucks is the worst coffee I ever had. I know I'm not that guy, but I said what I said. Well, no, a lot of people say that, Tim. There are people who earlier in this live said Starbucks coffee sucks. So you're not the only one. He got my lighter, said ChatGPT had become my new go-to. Yeah, I like ChatGPT. Karina said I had my tree up by Thanksgiving. Your tree's going to be dead by Christmas. That's fine. You can buy another tree, I guess. Karina said too late for me. Yeah, I guess so. Miss Watkins said, I wish our tree made it until the new year. My hubby takes it down on Christmas Day. Now, see, we would always, when I was a kid, we always keep the tree up till like New Year's Day was like the traditional day you took it down. But he's taking it down on Christmas Day. Ain't that the point of having the tree is to celebrate Christmas? He's taking it down that day. That's funny. And Karina, thanks for the goats. He got my lighter said, do also offer the book on Kindle or PDF once joining. Yes. If you want the digital, you talking about this book, the digital version of it? If you're in my mastermind, I'll send you the digital version of the book. No problem. I haven't recorded the audio version yet because I keep adding to the book. So I don't even start recording audio yet because I keep adding pieces. But the digital version, yes. If you get this and I mail this to you and you say, Dre, I'd rather read on my phone. Can you send me the PDF? Sure. No problem. Laura Iggy Lover said I would. Karina says Starbucks. Vintage Toy Gallery said new smartphones these days mean slightly better camera. Yeah, pretty much. That's all it is. He got my lighter says Starbucks makes it home. Don't taste the same at brick and mortar. What do you mean by that? Oh, you make Starbucks at home. Miss Watkins said Dutch Brothers is where it's at. I think I've heard of them. Are they coffee? Ashley said off topic. Where's Lane Kiffin coach next year? Ole Miss, Florida, LSU. I don't follow it that much, but I see everybody talking about it. I'm pretty sure he's going to take a better job, whoever pays him the most money. And I ain't mad at him for it. I think they would love it if he stayed where he's at. He's at Ole Miss right now, right? I think they would love him if he stayed where he's at. But Florida and LSU are huge jobs, and they're going to do the same thing that Mark Zuckerberg's doing with these AI engineers. They're going to make him an offer that he can't refuse. So whatever they're paying him at Ole Miss, if Florida or LSU offers him 2 or 3 times the money, how are you going to say no to that? And Lane Kiffin ain't that old. How old is Lane Kiffin? Like 45? He ain't passing on that. So Florida and LSU are going to prepare a package for Coach Kiffin, and they're going. One of them is going to get him. I make that prediction, unless Ole Miss offers him way more money. I don't know if Ole Miss has the money. They would have to go to their boosters and their donors, and they would have to gather up all the money in their piggy bank to match the offer that Florida or LSU offers. And at the same time, Ole Miss doesn't have the mystique of a Florida or LSU. If Lane Kiffin does great at Florida or LSU, he's a legend forever nationally. If he does great at Ole Miss, he's a legend in Mississippi. Different levels. So Ashley Mack, what do you think? We'll see. Oh, that's called Pike Place? Okay, that's what it is, Pike's Market? Okay. So it's the same place, Pike Place. Okay, that's where I was. Karina said, my tree is fake. Yeah, and in my experience, a lot of women prefer the fake tree because they don't have to clean shit up. You see, a real tree, you got to clean things up. I like the real tree because I like the smell of it and all that. And I actually like going and getting a real tree and picking the right tree. And a tree down here, you get a big Christmas tree here, that shit will be $100. But I remember when I was a kid, we used to go get a Christmas tree from not far from where we live. It was $20. A tree down here, same size tree, costs $100. But I don't do the cleanup for the tree. So I understand. A fake tree is much easier to take care of. So shout out to the people with the fake trees. XTR said the fake tree is the way to go. I understand. If you're in charge of the cleaning in your home, I understand the fake tree. I can't be mad at you. Karen said Pike Place Market, Seattle. Yes, that's what I thought. Not Influencing said, I call them Star Sucks. Okay. And Grammatical said, we do Little Christmas January 6th and take it down. We put up mid-December. Yeah, some people wait till like a week after and then the trees go out. Difference Maker said, what's your take on cash value life insurance to build wealth? There are people I know who talk about that stuff in super duper detail. I'm not one of those people, so I can't really tell you if it's a good idea or a bad idea or whole life insurance. I've heard many people talk about it. I know a lot of people who are in that industry selling life insurance as a wealth builder. There are many benefits and advantages to it. Difference Maker, what I tell you to do is plug it into Chat GPT. It gives you a lot of details on it because I did it once and it was giving me a lot of information. Miss Watkins said Dutch Brothers is coffee in Oregon, Washington State. I've heard of them before. Ashley said my son-in-law plays for him at Ole Miss and he is mid-40s. Yo, your son-in-law plays for him? Well, I know it'd be great for him if Lane Kiffin stayed, but they gotta open up they gotta open up the bank. Ole Miss gotta open up the bank. That's the only way they can keep him. But I don't think they're gonna keep him. Tiffany said my trees go up November 1st. November 1st. They're artificial trees and kids are happy to wake up for school. All right, fair enough. So you have an artificial tree up for 2 months. 2 months out the year, you have a tree up for a holiday that's one day. Fair enough. Your house. Do what you want to do. Ronaldo says he's leaving Ole Miss. Yeah, I think so. Barb said, I keep my fake tree up all year long and decorate it for different holidays. Barb, are you joking or are you serious? Tiffany said, my husband never had a fake tree till we got married, and I do clean up, so he's out. I understand. If, as a man, if you're not doing the cleanup and somebody wants a fake, then the woman in the house wants a fake tree, then you got to go with the fake tree. That one, I'll let the man got to fall back on that one. I understand. Gary said, I like fake trees because the lights are already on it, easy to dismantle. Yes, they are easy to, fake trees are very easy to deal with, whereas a real tree is a lot of work. And you get that sap on your hands. So when you buy the real tree, because I bought real trees in Brickell, and then I could take it, I could walk it back home. The thing is, even if you drive it, if you get a real tree, when you touch the actual bark of the tree, it has all this sap on it, this tree sap, and that shit is sticky as hell. It's like damn near like super glue. You get it on your hands, you got to wash your hands for like 10 minutes to get the shit off your hands. Fake trees, you don't have any of those problems. So I understand. And if you buy a real tree, it gets all in your car. If you got to drive it. And if you carry it home, then you got to carry a damn tree. Bruce said, Christmas tree up until the Epiphany January 6th. What does the Epiphany mean? What does that mean? Filthy Mind Game said, fake trees for the win. Then again, I'm allergic to pine, so the real ones aren't a great option over here. Yeah, so if you're allergic, that means you can't even touch the tree, right? Or smell it. Roseanne said, I paid $300 for a 10-foot flocked tree one year, but this year we're going to find one in the woods. So you're going to go chop a tree down. Okay, fair enough. $300. Yeah, that's about what it goes here, because I saw those. If you get the 10-foot, yeah, what you're talking about is the 10-foot. So I'm 6'4" height. So I usually get one that's a little bit taller than me. So like the 7-foot tree would be like $100. This year, it'd probably be $150. But I think we're going to go with a fake tree this year. You see my son. So imagine a kid like that running around your house with a real tree. He pulls on that thing one time the wrong way, boom, your whole tree is on the floor. So I don't want those problems. So we'll go with a fake tree. Miss Watkins said, I know someone kept a fake tree up all year round and decorated for other holidays. I've never heard of that before, but obviously this is a thing. Okay. Barb S said, I'm serious. I got too old to take it up and down. So you just leave the tree up. So wait a minute. What do you do to the tree for Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day? What do you do for Easter? So on the 4th of July, you got a Christmas tree in the middle of your house. What do you do on the 4th of July? Alicia said, in bugs. XCR said, my daughter's tree last year was full of baby spiders. I never heard of that one. Marky Man said, no bugs or squirrels. How you have squirrels on the tree inside your house? You get squirrels in your house? Murphy the Mutt said, tree sap. Yeah, the tree sap is crazy because once you get it on your hands, it takes forever to get it off. Like the next day, it's still there. Rory Iglegover said, Charlie Brown tree. Yeah, we'll wrap this up in a minute, folks. We're just talking about Christmas trees right now. I usually do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, by the way. Turner Frank said, we only do fake trees, less work, especially with kids. Yeah, with kids, you got to be careful with the real tree, like a small kid. Now, you get an older kid who kind of has self-control, 8, 9 years old, now you get a real tree. They're actually probably going to ask for a real tree. If I have kids who are 8 or 9, or when my children are 8 or 9 years old, they might ask for a real tree. And, well, I'll tell them, we get a real tree, y'all going to clean up all these needles. So after the tree is set up, y'all going to clean all this shit up. Get the broom, get the mop, sweep all this shit up. And when it's time for the tree to go away, y'all going to take all the lights off, take all the decorations off, put them away, and take the tree outside to the trash. So when they're old enough, they can do all the work. But when they're 2, 3, 4 years old, they can't do any of the work, but they're asking for all the stuff. And that's when you got to put your foot down. Bruce said, Epiphany is the day the 3 kings visited Jesus. Okay, I didn't know that. That's January 6th? Okay. New information. Tiffany said they have ornaments for every holiday. Yes, but for a tree? I know there are ornaments for Valentine's Day, but it's like a heart. But you put that on a tree? What's the tree got to do with it? Barbara said, I put the same decorations on the tree that I would wear in my house for Easter, etc. Okay, fair enough. Decorate accordingly. All right, got it. Michelle, good morning. Miss Watkins said, also plastic ornaments with the littles, they love to knock them down. LOL. Yeah, exactly. So, or they just love touching stuff. So we had a tree last year. Was it last year? It was either last year or the year before. No, it was the year before. My son was only 1 year old. We got a real tree. But he kept trying to take shit off the tree. But he was so small, we just put stuff higher up on the tree so he couldn't reach it. But then you got to watch him all the time because if he pulls on it, the whole tree will fall. If the tree falls on him, that could really injure him when he's that small. So these are all things to consider. All right? We're talking about the finer points of Christmas tree decorating. So all that said, folks, all right, let's Let's wrap this up. Styled by Terry said, cats and trees don't mix. All right, I'll take your word for that. I'm not a cat person. Hobby Lobby loves a year-round tree decorator. Okay, see, is a business to sell for every need. There's somebody selling something. Michelle said, I don't put a tree up. Too much work taking it down. I have other decorations. There have been years that I didn't do a tree, and there were no trees. But I personally, I like trees. When I was a kid, I have a sister who's a year older than me, so we're basically the same age. We would have a tree every year. We always had a Christmas tree. Because I don't know, I never asked my parents, but I'm pretty sure my mom and my dad both had trees in their house when they were kids. So they both had more siblings than I had. So I think they had the Christmas tree tradition, and I think they liked it, and I liked it. So that's why I generally like having a tree. I like a real tree. I'm not a fan of a fake tree, but I understand. I don't do the cleaning in this house, so if a fake tree is what the doctor ordered, then we'll go with the fake tree. All right, it's not that important to me. All that said, folks, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this one, come back tomorrow. If you're not sure, come back tomorrow. If you got some, you want to talk about Christmas trees again, we probably won't talk about that tomorrow, but we'll talk about something. I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. You want to get into my Power Presence Mastermind and get this book. This is the book that everybody needs to read right now, but understand you cannot buy this book, but you can't get it. You can't get it. I won't even charge you for it. When you become a member of my mastermind, I will send this to you. You don't have to buy it. I will send it to you. It's called the Power Presence Protocol. This is where I explain the 85% of the communication that is nonverbal, how to master it, how to use it, how to apply it, how to implement it, how to make it who you are as a person. Not something you do, but who you are as a person. Because when it is who you are, you don't have to think about it. Thinking about it is conscious. I just told you 85% of communication is unconscious, nonverbal. How do you make it part of who you are? This manual teaches you how to do it. This is the best textbook that you can invest in, and you don't even have to pay for it. All you got to do is get in my mastermind. I'll send it to you. Go to the link in my profile, or just text me the word power. My number is 305-384-6894. That's where you work with me directly. This is the main thing that I'm doing business-wise right now is this, the Power Presence Protocol. So any of you wondering what I do for a living is this. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an AI. I'm not a tech engineer. I don't talk about current events all day. It is this right here. So y'all want to get in this right here. Click the link in my profile. All that said, everybody have a great Thursday. Is today Thursday? Yes. Have a great Thursday. I'll see everybody 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thank you to my regulars. Thank you for the commentators. Thank you for the Christmas tree information. Those of you who are sharing. That's a fun little conversation about Christmas trees. And thanks to the moderators. Thank you to the people who've been leaving comments. Thank you, everybody, for liking the live. We got 110,000 likes here today. Remember to text me to get to my daily motivation text. My number is 305-384-6894. Everybody have a great Thursday. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. We're out of here.